This is Gemara Sanhedrin, Daf Kuf Beis. I'm holding the very top of Kuf Beis Amud Aleph, and all the learning should be an incredible schos. Rafua Shalima for Tinok ben Miriam Ahuva b'seich shar Choyle Yisrael. We're holding the top line of Kuf Beis Amud Aleph as the Gemara continues in teaching us how Yeravam tricked everyone. And the Gemara says that Va'af and even Achia Ashilaini, and even the Navi, Achia Ashilaini Ta'a, erred v'chasam, and signed on that which Yeravam, Yeravam's proclamation that Achia Ashilaini as well did not believe that Yeravam really was setting up idols for Klal Yisrael to worship. Da'yehu Sadiq Arabah explains the Gemara that Yehu was a very righteous king. Shenemar as the have a Shenemar Yemar Shemal Yehu Ya'an Asher Etivu Etivos Lasas Ayasha Be'enek Chol Asher Belevenu Asita Leveis Achav Ben Reviim Yishu Lacha Al Kisei Yisrael Uksiv, and the pasuk says V'Yehu Lo Yishamar L'Lechas B'Teretz Hashem L'Kei Yisrael, and Yehu was not careful to follow the way of Hashem again. So the first pasuk says, you've acted properly and you did what's right, and therefore I followed and I carried out in the house of Achav. Generations after generations will be Malachim of Klal Yisrael. Then the pasuk continues. It says, Yehu did not go in the right way with all his heart. He did not turn away from the Averos that Yeravam caused Klal Yisrael to sin. Says the Gemara, my grama lay. Says the Gemara, what caused this Tzaddik Yehu to go along with this plan of Yeravam, enabling and allowing Klal Yisrael to worship these golden idols? Amar Abaye bris krusa lisvasayim. Says Abaye, there was a bris krusa, that anything that was pronounced with the lips came to be Shenamar Achav Avad Abal. Achav served the Baal me'ot a little bit. Yehu Yavdinu Harbei served it a lot. Rava Amar. Rava says, you know what tricked him is that he saw the sign, the signet of Achia Shilaini, the seal, and Vitan. He made a mistake, and therefore he thought that these avodah zaras, the calves, were actually correct, and he cannot fathom that they were some form of Ra, and therefore Yehu himself bought in. It's absolutely mind-boggling to think how we have the Gedolei Olam Nevi'im signing off and then getting involved in idol worship. So it continues the Gemara. Tersev continues telling us the story that what Yeravam did. Tersev v'shachatu shitim ha'amiku v'ani moisar lekulam. And I, regarding shechting, they went deeper. I'll bring Musar to all of them. Amar Rav Yechon, what does this mean? Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, emiku mishali. Says the Kadosh Baruch Hu, they went beyond their laws enforcing, ensuring that they slaughtered, they shechted to these terrible idols. Says the Kadosh Baruch Hu, were more stringent than the halachas of the Torah itself. That what? Ani amarti, I, says Hashem, say kol chin oila regel avor ba'asei. It's over in a positive commandment. You're supposed to be oila regel shalosh panim b'shana. Ve'im amru, what do they say? Kol oila regel yitkar b'cherev. They said that if you go up to the Beis HaMikdash, will be killed. So says the Gemara, Vahi Be'isai, continues the story, Harachia Shilaini tells Yeravam Yatsi Yishalayim, V'yimatzi Yosei Achia Shilaini, and Avi finds the Navi Achia Shilaini B'derech, V'miskasei, and B'salma Chadasha, and Achia Shilaini is wearing a new robe. Talam Yishem Rav Yesi, you know what this means? Eisi Mizumenes, it was a moment in history that was destined for punishments. This is a moment in which Klal Yisrael's kingdom is split in two. Continues the Gemara, telling us what happened. Beis Pekudasam Yoivedu, in the hour of their Pekuda, they visited. They're going to be lost. Tanam Yishem Rav Yesi, Eis Mizumenes Leperaniais. It was a moment predestined for Pranias. It was also another pasuk says similarly that we learn out. It was predestined for good. On the day I'll make an account, I'll bring their Averais against them. Tanim Yishem Rav Yasi, Esi Mzumenes, their Apranios. And similarly, when the Apostle says, V'hiba Yisahi, V'yirdi Yehuda, Meis Achav, again, many psukim, all with similar terminology, and the Gemara is darshaning each and every one to mean a similar thing. Tanim Yishem Rav Yasi, Mzuman Lepranios. V'yelech Rachavam Shechem Ki Shechem Baal, Kol Yisalim Malech Yisai, Tanim Yishem Rav Yasi, Makam Mzuman Lepranios. There was a place. So first it was the Eis Mizuman. Now we're saying it was a Makaim Mizuman the Piraniyos. B'Shechem Inu Yesadin. In Shechem they violated it as Dina. B'Shechem Machru Achav Es Yosef. B'Shechem Nechalku. And in Shechem eventually the kingdom Malchus Beis David is split up. Explains the Gemara of Ravam Yatzim Yerushalayim. Amarechlein Abar Papa Yatzim Pitkal Shel Yerushalayim. He went out. He withdrew from the Pitka, from the role of Yerushalayim. He's never going to return. And Achia Shleini meets him. B'derech v'miskaseh b'simla chadash shneim levadim b'sadeh. Mai b'simla chadash v'amnachu kis simla chadash. Now what? Ma simla chadash ein mishum daifi. Just like a simla chadash has no defects on it. After Yisrael shal Yavavrim la yivashum daifi. The Torah of Yeravam. Yeravam's Torah knowledge was absolutely clear. And the Mefarshim explained that at the time Yeravam was appointed king, he really was destined for greatness. Another b'shat simul chadash echitcha dvarim shel shamu oizin me'elam. Ma'yushtein levada b'sad in the last in our line. What does it mean? The two of them were alone in the field. Amar Rav Yehuda. Amar Rav shkol tamid chacham daimin lepneim keis v'yasad. All the other tamid chacham were like nothing. They were insignificant, like grass of the field. Yigidam some stage shkol tamid terim mekulam kesadeh. They knew all the timing of the Torah. Continues the Gemara. As the kingdom is split, we have Malchus Beis David and Malchus Yehuda, and we have the Asar Shvatim that leave the Malchus Beis David, and they follow, unfortunately, they follow Yeravam. Says the Gemara, L'chein titnu shluchem al mereshes kas bei achziv la'achzav malchi Yisrael. Amr achlin Rabba Yatza Baskol v'Amr. Abbas goes out and tells Amr that Misha Arig is aplishti. This is how you show David HaMelech. David HaMelech went and he killed the Plishti, killed Goliath, and he gave you the city. So this is how you go and you leave him. Biti achzav la'achzev, biti achzev la'achzav l'machi Yisrael. The house of falseness will fall for those who betray Klal Yisrael. Amar Rav China bar Papa. So explains the Gemara. Sorry, the words are a little bit covered. Explains the Gemara how Yeravam was the one. If you get benefit from this world, if you stole from Hashem, ein pasha chaverhu leish maschis. He robs his father and mother, says no crime, a companion for a destructive person. Aviv, what's Aviv, of course? Elav HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shemar Lahu Avicha Kenecha V'nimar L'Knes Yisrael, Shenemar, Shema B'ni Musar Avicha, V'al Titosh Teiras Imecha. My chaver hu leish maschis. What does the pasuk mean when it says he's a chaver, a friend to a destructive person? Chaver muhu, the Rav ben Avat, a friend to Rav ben Avat, shehishches Yisrael. He caused Klal Yisrael to sin. Laviem Shabbat Shamayim. Similarly, the pasuk says v'idach Yeravam ben Avat is Yisrael me'achari Hashem ve'chatiu chata gedolam Rav Chanin kishtei ma'kolos hamatizos zu ezu. Explains the Gemara like two sticks that one hits against the other, goes flying. That's what Yeravam did to Klal Yisrael. After going in the topic of Yeravam's golden calves, the idols that he brought upon Klal Yisrael, the Gemara goes back to the original golden calf, the Egel Azov. V'dizav, says the Basik, Amr Dveir of Yanim, Amr Moshe Lekesh Baruch Rabbeinu Shalom, V'shal Kesev Izav Sheshmiel Amni Yisrael, because the golden and silver that you gave Klal Yisrael, Hashem died to Klal Yisrael said enough. Karlim Nasis Lemakei Azav, caused Klal Yisrael to the excess to make this golden idol Ashal to Mashal. Einari Dairis Venem Mitach Kupa Shal Tavin Ella Mitach Kupa Shal Basar. What does the lion go and roar and claw for? The kupa shel basar, the excess food. So to Klal Yisrael, like says Moshe, in defending Klal Yisrael, was the excess gold and silver. Until Yeravam, Klal Yisrael only were yonik. They nursed from one cow, for 2, 3. There these additional avodah zaras to the original one. Every punishment contains a little bit, 1/24 of a liter from the original sin. After 24 dairais, what's going to happen? Nigva pasuk zeh, the pasuk is going to be paid off. Shenemar. And the Gemara now explains back to Yeravam. To not turn back. My acher, what does it mean? Acher, Amar Rav Abba. Actually, tells Kadosh Baruch Hu Yeravam big day. After Kadosh Baruch Hu grabbed Yeravam by his garment, and said to him, Chazar b'cha, do tshuva. Hashem says to Yeravam, do tshuva, and I, you, and Ben Isha, and David HaMelech will go and will walk in Gan Eden. So what did Yeravam respond? Instead of Yeravam realizing this is his moment to do tshuva, unfortunately, Amar Allah, he says, Yeravam, mi baroish, Ben Yishai baroish. Is it David HaMelech going to be at the head? Ihachi lo be'ina. I don't want to do tshuva. Says the Gemara, back to some more stories with Yeravam. Rav Avua was ragel to darshan in the topic of the three kings. The three kings that we listen in our Mishnah don't have a chilik adam haba. Chalash, what time he got say kabbaleh to lo darsh. He said he's not going to darshan on this topic anymore. Kivan, but then when he saw ditbech, he saw he got better. Hadar kadarish, he continued darshaning. Amri, look about the lachad lo darsh b'cha. So the Talmidim said, didn't you say you're not going to darshan about this topic? Till darsh tabu, Amar inu mihadri. Did they do tshuva that I should do tshuva? And therefore he continues darshaning. Similarly, he says the story of Ashi Rav Ashi concluded when he was discussing the stories of the Shleishim Malachim and Amar, he said, Lamachar, tomorrow niftach b'chavrin, tomorrow we'll continue learning about chavrin, about our colleagues, about these three kings. Also Menashe, so Menashe comes. As Chazli B'Chalma appears, Rav Ashi in a dream. Amar Menashe says, Rav Ashi, Chavrach v'chaviri davok karitzlan. You call us your friends, your colleagues, and the colleagues of your father? If that's true, Mecha Basel and Misha Maitzi. Where are you supposed to? He asked. Menashe asks Rav Ashi Kasha in the dream. For where are you supposed to recite Hamaitzi? Amar le Yadana. Amar le Mecha Dabayis. L'mishay Hamaitzi Gamarta. V'chavrach Karlan. You don't know the place to make Hamaitzi, and you're calling us your friend. Amar le says Rav Ashi Gamarta li. So teach me. Tomorrow I'll say it over in your name, Menashe. Amar le Menashe says Mecha Dekarim B'Yishula. You know you're supposed to make Hamaitzi from the place where it's the most cooked. Amar le, so Rav Ashi says, Rav Ashi says to Menashe, I don't understand, you're so smart. Why did you bow down to Avodah Zarah? Amar le, you have this awesome. So Menashe tells Rav Ashi a startling line. If you were there having a kitna b'shipula galima v'rata basrei, you would have picked up your clothing and ran after me. L'machar amar lehu Rabbanan. The next day the Rabbanan said to Rav Ashi, Niftach b'Ravasa. We're going to stop. We're going to finish. He no longer called them Chavrayo. Now we call them Rav Ravasa, our teachers. As Rav Ashi learns that even though they did these horrible aveiros, obviously the level that they were on, we cannot fathom. Continues the Gemara, the third of the three kings listed in the Mishnah was Achov. Says the Gemara, Achav, Ach l'shamayim, Achav was a brother, an Ach, well not really Achov here means woe to heavens, Av l'avad zchavim. Ach l'shamayim, dechsev Ach l'tzar, you let Av l'avad zchavim, dechsev krachim aval banim. The pasuk says about Achav that he followed the Averis of Rav Mevat, Amar Rav Yechon Kalois, Shasa Achav Kechamur Shasi Ravam. The light Averis of Achav were equal to the heavy Averis of Yeravam. Umneimat Allah, because of Yeravam, why does the pasuk pin one on the other? Because Yeravam was the first to be destroyed, so the pasuk continues in a similar vein about Achav. Explains the Gemara Gamzah Chosam Kigalim Al Talmei Sadai. Their altars, their mizbechai, so like heaps on the field. Amar Rav Yechon Indachol, tell him Beretz Yisrael Shel Emet Olav Achav Avodas Chavim. Achav on each and every mount set up an avodah zar v'shtach v'loyim. Menala and Delo Asi la'alma Tasi. And where do we know that Achav does not come to the next world? Chsev v'chreisi la'achav mi v'chreisi la'achav mashtin b'kir v'atzur v'azov b'Yisrael. V'atzur is olam hazeh and v'azov is la'olam haba. Continues the Gemara. Now we move on to other kings. Kings, we'll see the name is Amri and his son Achav, who also unfortunately worshipped Avodah Zarah. This, of course, is the incredible Nach, the one maybe we're not too proficient in. You know why? Because he fortified one city. Shnemar v'yakin es ahar shamra meis shamir bekarem kasav even es ahar v'ikra Hashem ayir hashabana al shem shamar adoni shamar adonai har shemrain, and therefore he had a relatively long malchus due to the fact that he did have some good deeds. Amar Rav Yochanan, you know, he had a long agreement. He keep it as a Torah. He was mechabi the Torah, even though Menashe worshipped the horrible avodah zarah. But because he had covered a Torah, he merited 22 years of kingdom. Kim kais machar ashlech azavdi elecha v'chavsi. 1 second, we lost the place. V'chavsi es beisecha. We're on the 5th very wide line. V'chavsi es beisecha v'zbate avotecha. That what happens, that he sends messengers to Achav, and he says to them, the silver and the gold are mine, the wives, the children, they're all mine. So what happened? Kim Keisa, he says, tomorrow this time I'll send my servants to you, and they'll search your homes and the house of your servants. And it'll be anything that their eye finds pleasing. Yisimun b'yadam, will place in their hands. They're going to take of Yomer. Lemal oche ben Hadad, and Achav said to the messengers of Ben Hadad, anything that we sent originally, don't do this thing. What does it mean what's precious in your eyes? Lav Sefer Torah. Is this not the Sefer Torah? So explains the Gemara that we see Achav had a lot of kavod Torah, even though he would not, and therefore he would not even give up this Torah even at any situation. And this is the reason why Achav eventually merited a long reign of his malchus. Says the Gemara, how do you know Sefer Torah? Lo Sagadetach. Why? Tachsev, Yirmei Lev Kol Zkinim Chulam, all Zkinim and their nations al Tishma V'loi Soived, do not consent to obey. Says Gemara, V'tomo Savei Ta'avalsa Have. But maybe these were elders who were shameful, who would tell them to fight for the idol. Milo Ksev, which of course is difficult to understand. As we started off today, we saw Nevi'im signing on to Yeravim. Now we're seeing even the Zakenim buying in. The shameful elders. So says the Gemara, maybe they would have told Achav to continue fighting. Hassam explains the Gemara like Sev that what? There must have been one righteous person who would have stopped what he was doing. I'll leave for Klaisel 70,000, everyone who didn't bow down, every mouth that did not kiss the Avodah Zarah. So what do we see? We see that they release 7,000 Sadiqim, and these Sadiqim, of course, would never have told Achav to wage war for the Avodah Zarah. So what the pasuk must have meant that he's referring to the Sefer Torah, showing us Achav's Karvoid HaTorah. One more aspect of Achav, Amar Rav Nachman, Achav Shakul Haya. Says the Gemara, Achav was balanced. He has good deeds, his bad deeds, everything was equal. Shenamar v'yomer shemi yiftach as Achav v'yalva yipol beramot gilad v'yomer zebacha v'zamar bacha. One said this and one said that. Says the Gemara, Maskar v'yisif wait man dechsev v'bei rak lo yikachav v'sher smakar la'asoi so Rabbi Nei Hashem. Says the apostle who's known like Achav, who sold himself for terrible things. His wife Izabel instigated him. Says the Gemara, what do we see? Izabel every day would weigh out gold over the Zara of Amrit Shakulaya. And you're telling me that there were some good aspects to Menashe? It seems he was a horrible Rasha. Rather, says the Gemara, you know what the good quality of Achav was? He was liberal with his money, and Kipru Loi Mechaseh, half of his Aviris were forgiven. We're going to stop over here, but we see incredible, even with all the Avodah Zarah, because of his Kavod Torah, because his Hene Tamid Chachamim, therefore he merited. We'll pick it up from here, B'siyata Dishmaya.